telematics, and selective drive. In terms of the overview, telematics, we're going to talk a little bit about some accident impact history. What is telematics? How does it work? The benefits of telematics, and really the future and where telematics is going. It's been a trend over the last 20 years, and it's really starting to accelerate now with all the technologies. We'll also talk about selective drive. Selective drive is selective insurance telematic device. So the device that we offer to our insurers. We want to let you know a little bit about that, some of the benefits and features, and we're also coming out with a newer version later this year. We want to give you a little hint on what might be coming down the pike there. In terms of accident impact, in terms of losses, we have about $434 billion in losses a year. And that encompasses not only the property damage, but liability and other losses that are resulting of an accident. Over the past few years, they've been averaging about 40,000 motor vehicle fatalities a year. The last few years have seen a slight decrease over the last 5 years, which has been good. The interesting thing is with 2020 last year, in the pandemic, you would have thought losses or fatalities would actually go down. They actually went up 8%. It was like 42,000 this past year, and I think it was in 39,000 in 2019. So a lot of the statisticians, safety people said a lot of it was attributed to, yes, less vehicles on the road, but when there's less vehicles in the road, people decided to go a little faster. And of course, speed is not your friend when you have an accident. So we did actually see an uptick in fatalities last year. 4.6 million in injuries per year. It's actually the leading cause of on-the-job fatalities. People are a little surprised by that. They tend to think, oh, it's contractors falling off scaffolding and roofs. But fatalities is, in terms of driving, is the leading cause of work-related injuries. And it also impacts multiple lines of coverage from an insurance standpoint. Not only do you have the auto, you might have workers' compensation, possibly general liability, and obviously if the losses are big, they might also impact some of your umbrella lines. So in terms of what is telematics, this is kind of like the Webster's definition of telematics. Telematics encompasses a range of technologies which collect data to evaluate both the vehicle and the driver. Now, over the years, the focus was really on the vehicle. You started out with the GPS on where your vehicle is positioned, kind of evolved over the years where how do you get from point A to point B, and then eventually it evolved to the point, well, while you're going from point A to point B, how often are you speeding? How often are you hard braking? When are you stopping at Wawa, and how long are you leaving the engine running? Things of that nature. So the technology has added a lot of features over the years. You see things about geofencing. That was another big thing in terms of trying to keep your vehicles in certain boundaries. You're also starting to see with telematics, the insurance companies starting to use these devices as ways to kind of keep people in line, so to speak, develop rates, offer incentives, things of that nature. So how does it work? Back in the day, and I think it goes back way back into the 60s and 70s, there was GPS satellites mostly used for the government to position certain military equipment, what have you. Eventually, the general public or general industry started to pick that up, started putting some of these devices on your vehicles. And nowadays, with the wireless technology in the early days of the cell phones and things of that nature, you had a way to transmit data from your vehicle to a server or to the cloud to a fleet manager or an insurance carrier from that standpoint, and be able to get some analytics. Analytics can be anything like we talked about before: position of the vehicle, the speed of the vehicle, how often are you hard braking, idling the vehicle, things of that nature. In terms of the technology inside the vehicle, there's a wide range of devices nowadays. In the old days, it was pretty much the pros would install that equipment for you, and you had to use certain carriers for that service. Nowadays, you have a wide range. At the bottom of the screen here, you could see mobile equipment's just as much like you're using your cell phone that could transmit and collect the data. You have plug-in devices like the 12-volt and the OMDs where they plug into your diagnostic port. And now you're starting to see things where the vehicles themselves already have the equipment installed in the vehicle, and it's just a matter of picking up what carrier you want to utilize to transmit that data. Some of the benefits of telematics, especially nowadays, we're looking at more improved driver behavior. That's the main goal a lot of companies are utilizing this technology for, in terms of making sure that your driver is getting from point A to point B in a safe manner, so you can monitor those speeds and hard brakings and things of that nature. Obviously, the insurance carriers are going that route from that standpoint too. Other benefits we're starting to see a lot more of, they see route, delivery, dispatch management. You can find out where your vehicles are, dispatch them more quickly to other locations where the vehicle might be needed to deliver inventory and materials, things of that nature. They're also starting to get more into monitoring vehicle maintenance. So you'll be able to not only tell that your vehicle went 5,000 miles and it needs an oil change, it might even know that before 5,000 miles it might need an oil change, or it might need some lights replaced, or some other diagnostics that is involved in the system to be able to find out there's maintenance involved. And DOT compliance, or even just general regulatory compliance. Nowadays, with the electronic logs with the truckers, you can get some of that compliance data, so you don't have to worry about how often were you driving, the 10-hour rules, the 40-hour rules, and things of that nature. The future of telematics, again, it's really going towards the data. And before, fleet managers would get that data and they would look at it and say, okay, this person's driving fast, or these groups of people are driving faster, or hard braking and things of that nature. The data now is becoming more utilized so that not only you as the fleet manager can look at it, but also sometimes the driver. And they're starting to put it in such ways that you can do scoring and find out maybe even analytics on that person might be more susceptible to a certain type of accident. So you're really getting some good data here. And that's where a lot of companies, especially who provide the telematics services, are not only providing the service, but a lot of good data to go along with it, so you can evaluate it and make sure your drivers are driving safely. They also integrate with other software, as we saw with the electronic logs. They're going into that kind of thing. Route management is a lot integrated from that standpoint. So you're starting to see it more involved with other software. I know that a lot of companies have electronic logs, and as part of the service, telematics is provided. A lot of the software companies that provide route management will also provide the same software for telematics. So it's all integrated into one system, so they get all that data in here. And at the bottom of this slide here is where that timeline was, where we talked about the GPS positioning back in the late 90s, early 2000s, all the way up to this integration of data. So this is where the product is starting to go to. Selective Drive, I'm going to have Dave talk about that.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Colarusso. I'm a partner and peer with Jim. So I want to talk a little bit about the device itself, what it does and how it works. It doesn't take into account all of the technology that Jim was talking about, but it does get very specific. I think what's nice about this device is it's a value-added tool. It's something that Selective has offered to customers as that value added, to say, what can we do to help you folks out with your auto and your fleet and doing some of that monitoring. So we'll talk about the device and some of those features that might bring some enhancement to your fleet. So the device itself, it's a plug-in. It plugs into the accessory port. If you have some gray hairs like Jim and I, it's usually referred to the cigarette lighter. So it plugs into the cigarette lighter, and what it does is it pairs with a smartphone. There is an app that you would download on the smartphone, and it pairs with that app. As an example, Selective is big on walking the walk. So Jim and I have had these devices probably for at least 3 years in our company cars. I leave my app open. It knows when I approach. It automatically connects me in, and I'm ready to go. It's basically, you just kind of forget about it. But that's generally how it works. It's using and piggybacking off of the cell phone that somebody's already paying for. If you have cell phones that you provide to your drivers, you're already paying for that service. You're not paying for a second service in the event that you have some traditional devices that you put into your vehicles. You're paying for a cell service or something to be able to monitor that device. It's piggybacking already off of an existing device, that being the smartphone. But it has a lot of the same features that a lot of the traditional ones have. So, where has it been? How fast is your driver going? When have they been driving? Is there harsh braking? It has those same features, even though that device is just plugged into that accessory port. So what's kind of interesting is that because it's being used at the level of the cell phone, there is an advantage that it can actually detect distracted driving. As we know today, distracted driving is a problem. How many times do we see people driving by us with their face down looking into a phone? It's a growing problem as technology tends to become more available to us. Especially from a social media standpoint, people are more willing, unfortunately, to look at their texts, answer emails, those kind of things. However, as we get into this, it can differentiate between hands-free as well as picking up the phone and unlocking it. Some of the other features, as mentioned before, those driving habits, and those things are monitoring, the mapping, the geofencing of, putting up a make-believe fence electronically where you don't want people to be traveling to. You need to want to keep them in a box. So if you want to do the whole state of Pennsylvania, you could say the state of Pennsylvania. If someone goes out of state, you would get an alert. Those are all things that are available on these. It's optional. You could turn them on and turn them off. But I think what's kind of neat is that the drivers themselves can look at their own information, meaning their own statistics. If I go in or Jim goes into his phone, or even if we go into the application on the computer, we can see our own information. I can see where I have been the day before, the mapping, how fast I've been going. It actually gives you all those details at the driver level. I can't see Jim's, he can't see mine, but somebody at Selective is considered the fleet manager. They have access to everybody, and I'll show you an example of what that looks like at a fleet manager viewpoint. But a lot of these are features that are all available to a lot of the other devices that are available out there. They're also available with Selective Drive. So as I mentioned about distracted driving, it is a problem. It does differentiate between the hands-free use and the unlocking. Selective, as a company, we're okay with ourselves, meaning we can use it hands-free. So if we make a call, it's got to be a hands-free call, but it can differentiate. If I was to pick up the phone and unlock it, it would flag somebody at Selective to say somebody was distracted driving, and I might get a phone call or a notification asking me why. That's the way we operate at Selective. Those are our rules, but it does help in that case. It's a great deterrent. I'm aware of it. Everybody driving at Selective is aware that it's a great deterrent. We don't want to be distracted driving. We don't want to be unlocking our phones and while we're on the move. However, there are limitations to what it can do for distracted driving. We all know it's a problem. So yes, I look at the photograph shown in the upper left-hand corner. Back in the day, I'm guilty of the same, including with the stick shift. Can do all that balancing. Don't do it anymore. There's a limitation for distracted driving what this device can. Call standpoint, it's there. This is one of the reasons why it's important that you have a fleet safety policy and procedures in place, something formalized to make sure everybody understands, all of your drivers. One of those aspects should be distracted driving. How do you manage distracted driving? How do you communicate how you shouldn't be, whether it's passengers, whether it's using other devices, other GPS devices, such as mapping devices that are maybe in the vehicles. Those all have to be addressed at an administrative level as well to make sure people understand distracted driving as a whole needs to be frowned upon. This is just a quick graphic of the mapping from a fleet management standpoint. You can see the status of all the vehicles, including where they are. So this was done from a couple of years ago, and it was our region, actually Mid-Atlantic region for Selective Insurance, and it was my car and Jim's car are in here somewhere. And this kind of just shows the status, red being they're not on the move at that moment, green is that they're out in the field, they're on the move, and you can see where they are in the location. It's one of the features that you have as a fleet manager of where the vehicles are and where they're going. So some of the eligibility requirements. Number one eligibility is anybody at Selective that has a fleet is typically eligible for these devices. We make them available to our customers as, again, that value added. We do like to see at least 5 vehicles. We can, make exceptions. That's not an issue, but we want to see at least a fleet of at least 5 vehicles, if possible, that we could use these into for our customers. The smartphone, as I mentioned early on, you need a smartphone where you can drop the app. That can be sometimes problematic if your driver has a personal cell phone and they don't have a company issued cell phone, then they would have to agree to drop the app. Not a lot of data that they would have to be worried about, but it's something you would need permission from your drivers if they have their own phones. And also, as previously mentioned, you do want a formal fleet safety policies and procedures. Selective Drive does not replace a current policies and procedures or fleet program. It's there to help enhance it. So the goal is to have something in place that's formalized and then build in Selective Drive to enhance that. Jim, did you want to take it from here, because you're more knowledgeable on the what's up and coming?
I'll talk a little about Selective Drive 2.0. Selective Drive 2.0 is very similar to our current Selective Drive product. The challenges we had with the Selective Drive currently is that cell phone. A lot of companies do not provide cell phones to their employees, hence it makes it a little more challenging to have the telematics working through a personal phone. There's some issues with that. So we decided to go on another route where we'd have the device where you plug it into the OMD port and not need the cell phone. So we were working on a new product there. The features are going to be very, very similar, but we've decided also to take a little different approach to it. Current version, we give it to you. There's a lot of data there that you can use. Us as safety management consultant will work with you with your safety policies and how to integrate that with your safety policy. This newer version, we're going to take a little bit, I guess you could say, hands-on approach. We will be looking at data, but the intent of looking at that data and gathering that data is to provide you information that you can use. As I had talked previously in a presentation, where the telematics is not only just providing some charts, we're trying to provide some real data that shows who are your bad drivers or where are your problem areas, and then provide you information for training, coaching sessions, maybe little safety talks, safety videos, things of that nature, so you can use with your drivers to, again, make that behavior change that you want to see with your drivers. Right now, we're just starting the process of a pilot. We're going to go through some various steps there. We're not sure how it's ultimately going to lead to, but our intent is to get it out by the end of the year, and hopefully we'll have some of the kinks worked out, and also just having that other option for you, so that if you don't have a cell phone, this device might work for you.
Is there a cost to it? I missed that. Was there a cost to Selective?
Jim, did you want to
both of them right now? Version 1, no cost. Version 2, no cost so far. So that's our intent, is not to provide or not to charge.
Oh, okay.
And Jim, just if you could clarify, I believe if and when version 2.0 is released, I believe 1.0 will still be available. Is that correct?
It will be still available, okay. And it would be a preferred device if you provide in the company phones.
Great. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I'm Dave Riley. I'm the Director of Loss Control and Claims for Gannon. And Selective is a very valuable partner to us. And I just ran some numbers. And to give you some idea how valuable they are, the agency handles about $30 million in commercial premiums. And Selective constitutes over $5 million, or almost 18% of our placed commercial lines business. So that's they're our largest relationship in the commercial lines arena, and we thank you guys today and every day for helping us serve our customers. So we utilize the loss control department utilizes carrier partners for many of our fleet safety resources that we provide, and telematics is a great addition to the fleet safety program. And as Dave said, it works great in unison with other fleet safety controls. Yeah, on its own, it's not as impactful. But I've been asked to give you an intro of our Gannon Loss Control Department. So who we are individuals hired to help our customers find non-insurance solutions to manage risk, control losses, and control or hopefully reduce premiums. That's our goal. Who we aren't, we don't replace the insurance agent. We don't replace whoever contacts our customers. So if our customer still needs to buy a policy, see if they're properly covered, interpret coverage forms or policy language, compare pricing, any of that stuff, they still go to their sales agent, their producer. How we do it is we have a whole list here. I think, yeah, I got a bigger version over here on my other screen, but we review safety policies. We do property evaluations. We do premises hazard assessments, claims investigations and support, management and consultation. We also help with accident analysis investigations. We get involved deeply with workers' compensation with experience mods. We help review those and provide consultation. Safety committee setups with the workers' compensation. We help organize training and management of that. Safety policy and procedure reviews, fleet safety, policy review and consultation, a lot of driver selection and management techniques when it comes to motor vehicle records and anything like that. Emergency action planning, safety resources, the whole gamut of things that we do. So we work as a team with our Gannon insurance agent to help our customers manage risk and protect their assets. In the last year and a half, we just started keeping track of what we've been doing. We've probably been in business for 3 years, maybe 4, but we've been tracking what we've been doing for the last year and a half, and we've served over 300 Gannon commercial customers with different loss control or claims advice or techniques. And we look forward to serving a lot more. We've done this with our carrier partners for the most part. So that's all I had. Thanks for attending, everyone. Thanks for learning about this. Obviously, as our guys said here, it helps reduce accidents and save lives, and hopefully it puts forth a goal to help reduce insurance costs.